morning to all. Myself Professor Archana. We are continuing on topic Fundamental of a Carbon Capture, Utilization and Storage. We are in Module 2, Lecture 4. Module 2 comprises carbon trading and the concept of a carbon credit and carbon footprint. So this topic we have started carbon trading. Lastly, we cover Kyoto Protocol and carbon credit. So we will be continuing this topic. So talking about the some more terminology which we have already discussed. So in regard of a Annex 1 parties or Annex B countries, we will get the idea. So Annex 1 parties, what we understand under Annex 1 parties, all the developed or industrialized countries are being considered. If we do mention Annex B, so Annex B countries are not exactly the same, but they are very similar group under the UN Climate Agreement, with Annex B being an extension of a Annex 1. So what is this Annex 1? Annex 1 is the parent and Annex B is the subset of a Annex 1 under the Kyoto Protocol. So here adding countries with economics in transition and specifying binding emission target for them. So this is about our Annex 1 and Annex B. So what we can understand here, Annex 1 is the broader list from the UNFCCC, and Annex B, when we consider, it is a subset of Annex 1 that took on a specific legally binding reduction target under the Kyoto Protocol. So Annex 1 and Annex B parties, so what we can get it, Annex 1 parties from UNFCCC. So this include industrialized countries, OECD members and countries with economics in transition that committed to reducing emission to 1990 level by 2000. And when we do see this Annex B, so it is from the Kyoto Protocol. So this is the list derived from Annex 1, or we can consider it is a subset of Annex 1, but with a specific quantified emission reduction target for the first commitment period. So what is the first commitment period? It is a 2008 to 2012. So there is some overlap. So most Annex 1 countries are also Annex B countries, but some countries like Belarus and Turkey, where they were in Annex 1 but not initially in Annex B for target. So if we do see Annex 2, so what is, there is a couple of the thing we are talking, Annex 1, Annex B, now we get the Annex 2. So what is this Annex 2? Is subset of Annex 1. These country, so under this OECD members only have a specific obligation to provide financial and technological support to developing nation, and this developing nation, these nation comes under non-Annex 1. So what we have it here, we can see three things. Annex 1 parties, it is from UNFCCC. Then Annex 2 parties, this is also from UNFCCC. Then we do have the Annex B parties, it is from the Kyoto Protocol. So let's see this one all together. So if we do see Annex 1 parties, it is from UNFCCC. So who will be the member? So developed countries and EIT. So like Russia, Eastern Europe from 1992. Once it started this formulation, United Framework for Climate Change. And then when we do talk about the obligation, so obligation of this Annex 1 parties are, they are committed to stabilizing emission, reporting and implementing policies, but without a specific quantitative target under the original convention. So the original convention is in 1992. So when we do mention this Annex 2 parties, it is also from UNFCCC. So this one is subset of Annex 1, that's one thing, and it includes only the original OECD member and it is excluding EIT. And what is the obligation of this Annex 2 parties? In addition to Annex 1 duties, they must provide the financial resources and facilitate technology transfer to our developing countries. So like Annex 2 parties, we were having some Kyoto mechanism. Under that, they were talking about the clean development mechanism. So this clean development mechanism, where there is one developed country will get it associated with the non-Annex 1. So we can talk Here Annex 2 parties are the one which is giving the assistance to developing country in regard of resources and facilitating the technology transfer. So talking the Annex B, so it is from the Kyoto Protocol. Who will be the member? A specific list of 37 industrialized countries and economic in transition. They are the member. What is the obligation? Have legally binding quantified emission limitation and reduction target for the first commitment period of 2008 to 2012. So what the key difference we can see? Not all Annex 1 countries are in Annex B. Okay, some non-Annex 1 countries were added to Annex B. Now one more terminology which last class it was introduced, that is assigned amount unit. So let's get some idea of this one, assigned amount unit. So this assigned amount unit we can call that AAUs, are the tradable permit under Kyoto Protocol, and each allowing a country to emit 1 metric ton of a CO2 equivalent. So this CO2 equivalent, what it is allowing, it is first of all it is a tradable unit which can be traded between the parties, and it is under the Kyoto Protocol, and it allows a country to emit 1 metric ton of a CO2 equivalent. So they function as a core unit in the protocol emission trading system. Where it is a working, when we are discussing about the emission trading ET mechanism, that time what we required some credit to be get it transferred. So couple of the credit we were discussing in the last class. So there is one more, we are talking about the assigned amount unit. So they function as a core unit in the protocol emission trading, so giving industrialized nation a cap on their allowed greenhouse gas emission. So what they are giving, there is a cap and trade system. So this industrialized nations will be given a cap. So like Australia, they may be given a cap of 100. So above 100 AAUs will be given to Australia. So this is the cap. Above that they cannot emit. If they are emitting, they require to buy that one. Or if they are in surplus in amount, so they have to sell it. So this is the emission trading we will understanding. So let's see this one. So here under this one, they are giving industrialized nation a cap on their allowed greenhouse gas emission with surplus AAUs potentially sold to other nations needing them, and that creates a carbon market. So what is the key aspects of AAUs, assigned amount unit? First, what is the definition? An AAU equals 1 ton of a CO2 equivalent. That's one thing. Purpose, to quantify and manage national emission reduction target set for developed countries, Annex B parties under the Kyoto Protocol. How the mechanism? Countries receive AAUs up to their assigned limitation unit. If they emit less, they have the surplus AAUs which can be sold to other party. So trading, as it can be sold to the other parties, so there would be some trading concept. So this system allows for international emission trading where countries with unused AAU, assigned amount unit, can sell them to countries exceeding their cap. So there is a cap and trade. So the country will be given some assigned amount unit, and under that limit or AAUs they have to emit it. If they are emitting more than that, they have to get it penalized, or they have to enter into the emission trading system. So this is one thing. So origin, if we do talk about, it derived from the assigned amount, which are the total allowed emission for a commitment period of 2008 to 2012. So this is the first commitment period. So if we do see this AAU, that is assigned amount unit with regard to other units. So what are the other unit we do have? Already we get the idea. So let's see this. While AAUs are fundamental type of a carbon credit under Kyoto Protocol, other mechanism we do have it. So other mechanism like the clean development mechanism and joint implementation, these two mechanisms also generate other credit. So what is the other credit? We do talk about CERs and ERUs. So the concept of AAUs, particularly the large surpluses generated in the first commitment period, significantly induce the design and market dynamics of a subsequent climate agreement and carbon market. So we do have AAU, then we do have the other credit unit, that is a CER or EUR. These are the one which is getting generated as part of the other mechanism, Kyoto Protocol mechanism, that is our clean development mechanism or joint implementation. So this assigned amount unit are created and assigned to countries. So it is assigned to NXB countries under the Kyoto Protocol, and based on their specific emission reduction target like 8% from 1990 level for commitment period, with each AAU representing 1 metric ton of a CO2 equivalent of allowed greenhouse gas emission, and that forming a national budget that can be traded. So each countries will be assigned some amount, so that called the assigned amount unit. So the initial assignment is calculated by applying the percentage target to the country's base year emission. So what is the base year emission is taken usually 1990 and issuing the corresponding number of AAUs credit into the national registry, and that creating a tradable commodity for their emission allowance. So there is some calculation methodology here. So initial assignment are being calculated by applying a percentage target to the country's base year emission. So the base year emission was taken 1990. So that time 1990, what was the emission they were doing? So based on that base year emission, there is some target was assigned. So if someone is already have done it, it is something like that. Each country will have their own given assigned amount unit assigned to the particular countries. So how these AAUs are assigned? So there is a first set emission target. So developed countries, NXB parties. So that's the thing, we have get the idea of NX1, NX2, NXB parties. So developed countries, that is NXB parties, agree to binding emission reduction target for a specific commitment period, that is 2008 to 2012 for the first period. So it determine base year emission. So 1990 was taken. So each country emission in a baseline year were established. So that's the thing. Calculated assigned amount, the national emission reduction minus 8% was applied to the base year emission to determine the total allowed emission, and the or we call that assigned amount for the period. Then there would be issue of AAU. So this total assigned amount was then divided into the individual unit, which with each AAU equaling your 1 metric ton of a CO2 equivalent. And then there will be entry in the national registry, create national registry. So these AAUs are created and held in the national registry for each country and essentially acting as an upfront emission budget. So are the key characteristic tradable countries that emit less, then their assigned amount have a surplus AAUs, and that can be sold to country exceeding their limit. So this way there is a creation of a carbon market. And so initially the one which we are talking AAUs, there is a how this emission target would be set. After this emission target calculation done, what we are entering into, we are entering into cap. So there is a some cap was given to the countries, and this cap, if they are not able to be under this cap, there is a trading will start. So trading with respect to if they have the surplus amount or they are less in amount, accordingly buy or sell will be taken. So unit of account, 1 AU is equivalent to 1 metric ton of a carbon dioxide equivalent. And how the implementation would be there? AAU are the core mechanism for industrialized nation to track and meet their Kyoto Protocol commitment through a cap and trade system. So we get the idea. So this assigned amount unit, or we call that assigned amount. So what we get it? The total assigned amount of a greenhouse gas that each NXB countries is allowed to emit during the first commitment period of a Kyoto Protocol. So a assigned amount is tradable unit of 1 metric ton of a CO2 equivalent. So it is a what? It is a total assigned amount of a greenhouse gas that each NXB country is allowed to emit during the first commitment period. And what is alternative definition? A Kyoto Protocol unit equal to 1 metric ton of a CO2 equivalent. So each NX1 party issues AAUs up to the level of its assigned amount. Okay. So this established pursuant to Article 3, Paragraph 7 and 8 of the Kyoto Protocol. So this assigned amount unit may be exchanged through the emission trading. So this Kyoto Protocol to the United Nations Framework Convention on a Climate Change established a cap and trade system that imposes national cap on the greenhouse gas emission of the developed countries that have ratified the protocol. So that we are having the NXP countries. So each participating country is assigned an emission target. So what it is assigned to? Emission target. And the corresponding number of allowances. So that we call the assigned amount unit or AAUs. So this is it about this trading. AAUs are tradable emission permit under the Kyoto Protocol. And then other unit that can be used for compliance under the Kyoto Protocol are your offset credit generated under the Clean Development Mechanism, and then EUR emission reduction unit from the joint implementation, RMUs, that is a reduction unit from land use change and forestry activities. So this is the some couple of the credit system we do have under the Kyoto Protocol. Now we are moving to the Doha Amendment. So what is this Doha Amendment? So there was some talk we have started with UNFCCC. Then next we do talk about the Kyoto Protocol. Now we are moving to the third one, that is a Doha Amendment. So let's see what is this Doha Amendment and how this all are connected. So this Doha Amendment is an extension of the Kyoto Protocol, and that is adopted in Doha, Qatar in 2012. And what is the reason of this Doha Amendment? To establish a second commitment period. So till now we are talking about the first commitment period, and that is a 2008 to 2012. So we are talking about the first commitment period under this Kyoto Protocol. So the first commitment period we do have a 2008 to 2012. Now we are moving towards the second commitment period. So in the first commitment period, what we have seen, we have the couple of the definition. There is a categorization of the countries. Then there is some mechanism we do talk about joint implementation. We do talk about this clean development mechanism. We do talk about the emission trading. Then we had the understanding of international emission trading. There was some credit system we were talking. Then what we have seen it, there is some period is specified 2008 to 2012, and under this period there was some reduction of the greenhouse emission was expected from the annex. Now we are moving to the second amendment period, and that second commitment period, and that period is specified between 2013 to 2020. So let's see about this Doha Amendment. So this the revision stabilizing the Doha Amendment to stabilize the second commitment period 13 to 20 with a deeper emission cut. And now what emission cut we are expecting? At least 18% below 1990 level. In the first one, that was a 5%, or based on the company, some they have specified 8%, 5% like that. So on average 5% we were talking about. Now in the second commitment period, that is a 2013 to 2020, with deeper emission cut is expected, and that emission cut is 18% below 1919 level for the developed nation, but it was largely superseded by the Paris Agreement. So now there is one more thing we have it after Doha Amendment, something we are talking about the Paris Agreement that is started in 2050. Although it officially entered into force in late 2020s as the Kyoto Protocol concluded. So this is the Doha Amendment we are talking. So what the key expected here? What is the purpose? To extend the Kyoto Protocol framework for reducing greenhouse gas emissions beyond its first phase. So first phase was ended in 2012. So after 2012, now the expectation is to reduce more greenhouse gas, and it was set 18%. So the purpose to extend the Kyoto Protocol framework for reducing greenhouse gas emission beyond its first phase. And what is the commitment period? We do have established a second period from 13 to 20. Target, it was set 18% below 1990 level. Adoption and entry into force, if we see, adopted in December 12 and enter into force in 31st December 20 after receiving acceptance from the required number of parties. The Doha Amendment provided a breeze as the world transitioned towards the broader Universal Paris Agreement, which was adopted in 2015 and effectively replaced the Kyoto Protocol mechanism. So we get the idea of the Doha Amendment. So the goal was to extend the Kyoto Protocol until 2020 and allowing for the second commitment period with at least 18% reduction below 1990 level for participating developed countries. Key limitation, we have seen, is still part of the Kyoto Protocol or Kyoto framework, which did not include major countries emitter like US and China. So for the Doha Amendment, or we can call the Doha Agreement, extend the Kyoto Protocol until 2020, and the focus was to emission cut, and that was expected 18%. Now we are going to talk about the Paris Agreement. So Paris Agreement 2015 is a universal legally binding treaty requiring all countries to set nationally determined contribution that we call the NDC to limit global warming well below 2 degrees centigrade and aiming for 1.5 degrees centigrade, and that introduces a 5-year cycle of increasing ambition for climate action. So we have seen the Doha Agreement. How does it work? It is an extension of the Kyoto Protocol. Now we are moving towards the Paris Agreement, and Paris Agreement is nothing but the universal legally binding treaty. So Doha was a short-term Kyoto extension, whereas when we do talk about the Paris Agreement, so Paris created a new comprehensive global framework for climate action beyond the Kyoto limitation. So this is the Paris Agreement. So Paris Agreement is what? It is a legally binding international treaty on the climate change. So it was adopted by 195 parties at UN Climate Change Conference COP21, and where it was in Paris, France on 12 December 2015, but it entered into force on 4th November 2016. So this is the history of the Paris Agreement. So it is the extension of the, after Doha Agreement, we are moved to the Paris Agreement, and it is a nothing but legally binding international treaty on the climate change. So its overarching goal is to hold the increase in global average temperature to well below 2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels and pursue effort to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial level. However, in recent years, world leaders have stressed the need to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade by end of this century. So that's because of the UN Governmental Panel on the Climate Change indicate that crossing the 1.5 degree centigrade threshold risk unleashing far more severe climate change impact. So that include more frequent and severe drought, heat waves and rainfall. So in the previous discussion, we seen how the climate is getting changes and what are the different changes it is bringing in all phases of life, like a heat waves, like a rainfall, droughts. So these are the changes due to the climate adverse condition. So we require to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade. Greenhouse gas emission must peak before 2025 at the latest and decline 43% by 2030. So this Paris Agreement is a landmark in a multilateral climate change process because for the first time a binding agreement brings all nations together to combat climate change and adapt to its effects. So this Paris Agreement, what we get it, the main goal is to limit the global warming to well below 2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial level, pursuing effort to limit it by 1.5 degrees centigrade by bringing all nations together. So how it works? So countries submit NDC and are expected to increase their ambition every 5 years. So key difference, if you will see, universally applicable not just for developed nation, creating a shared responsibility for all climate action. So this is not only we are expecting this contribution from the developed nation, now the responsibility of everyone are there in regard of a Paris Agreement. So let's see this nationally determined contribution. So this nationally determined contribution are national climate action plans submitted by countries under the Paris Agreement outlining effort to cut emission and adapt to climate change with updates required every 5 years to increase ambition, driving the agreement ratchet mechanism towards global climate goal like limiting 1.5 degrees centigrade. So here what we have, it is a nationally determined contribution are nothing but the climate action plan, and it would be submitted by countries under the Paris Agreement. So under the Paris Agreement 193 countries are there. So they require to submit the what are their climate action plan. So these contributions are crucial for tracking progress, for ensuring these contributions are crucial for tracking progress and ensuring collective action. With the first round submitted in 2015 and subsequent more ambitious update due in, it was submitted in 2021 and 2025 for 2030 target and so on. So it informed by the global stock take which assess overall progress. So what are the key aspects of NDC under the Paris Agreement? One is the national plan. So each country sets its own goal, that is the NDC, nationally determined contribution for emission reduction and climate resilience, reflecting its unique circumstances. So each country will have their own limitations. So each countries are setting its own goal for emission reduction and climate resilience. And there is a 5 year cycle. So NDC, nationally determined contribution, are updated every 5 years with increased ambition, a progress known as the ratchet mechanism. What is the ambition? Each new NDC should be more ambitious than the last, aiming for the highest possible ambition. It is something global stock take GST, a periodic assessment first was done in 2023 of a collective progress informing the next round of a NDC. With respect to reporting, countries communicate their NDC to UNFCCC Secretariat and they are recorded in a public registry. So example, India updated its first NDC with stronger 2030 target while EU submitted its enhanced NDC reflecting its Fit for 55 goals. So now we reach to the conclusion part. So in the today's discussion, I talked about assigned amount unit and Doha Amendment, and then lastly we do discuss the Paris Agreement. So this is all for today. See you in the next class. Thank you.